The hovercraft steel city skimmer hummed as it glided over Sheffield's rain-slicked streets, its cushion of air parting puddles like a knife through butter. R.A. Waddilove gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "We're approaching the junction for the A1, Mel. You sure this place is even legal?" Mel Sterland leaned forward in his seat, the collar of his trench coat already dark with sweat even before they'd hit the crime scene. "Legal enough to call a detective when their stock goes missing, and missing doesn't cover it. This was a heist." The adult superstore Undercover Pleasures squatted beside the A1, its neon sign flickering in the grey morning light. Imre Varadi was waiting at the door, a half-smoked roll-up tucked behind his ear. "Took your time," he said, clapping Mel on the shoulder. "Manager says 37 pairs of designer thongs are gone. All silk, all limited edition. Security footage shows 3 figures in black, but they jammed every camera before making off." Mel wiped a river of sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. "Jammed cameras. That's definitely not amateur work." He pushed inside, where the store was cool and brightly lit, a stark contrast to the damp outside. But as he surveyed the empty display racks, the heat of the case hit him hard, and beads of sweat began rolling down his temples, soaking into his shirt collar. "Commissioner Whitehouse is gonna love this," Imre muttered, following his gaze. "Says you're too messy, too unpredictable to handle serious work like this." "Serious work?" Mel shot back, already kneeling to examine scuff marks on the floor. "Tell me what's more serious than protecting people's right to buy thongs. And Whitehouse can stick his rules where the sun don't shine. I get results." As he traced the scuff marks to a back door, Waddilove appeared with a small evidence bag. "Found this by the loading dock. Looks like putty." Mel's eyes lit up. He pulled a tiny putty figure of H from steps from his pocket, turning it over in his fingers. "Not just any putty. This is the same brand I use for my models." Following the trail of putty residue, they tracked it to a disused warehouse half a mile down the A1. Inside, the stolen thongs were piled high on a table, and 3 men were busy trying to mold them into bizarre shapes with, you guessed it, putty. "Turns out they're art students," Imre said, stunned. "Said they were reclaiming the thongs to make a statement about consumerism." Mel's face was now drenched in sweat, but he cracked a grin. "Well, their statement's gonna cost them a fine, and I'll be keeping that putty. Got a new model in mind. Commissioner Dane bloody Whitehouse, looking all stuffy in his uniform." Back in the Steel City skimmer, Waddilove steered them toward the city center as Mel pulled out his putty kit. "You really think molding Whitehouse will fix things between you two?" Imre asked. Mel shook his head. "Nah," he said, already pinching the putty into shape. "But it'll make me feel better. And who knows, maybe one day he'll see that being a loose cannon is exactly what Sheffield needs."